Well, g'day guys. So let's go back from a pretty epic 5-day hike through the Tasmanian wilderness, and I thought it was a good chance to sit down and show you guys what gear I took on that trip and what I usually take on a lightweight hiking trip. Now, I was hiking up through the Alpine region in Tassie where the weather can change really quickly and it can get below freezing. So I had to make sure I was bringing the right gear that was going to keep me warm, safe and dry. So how about we sit down, we'll go through the gear inside the pack, and at the end I'll give you guys some base weight. Alright, so first up with the backpack. This is by Hyperlight Mountain Gear. This is a Southwest 3400. It's 55 litre capacity and it's made out of Dyneema fabric, so it's quite hard wearing. I've only used it on 2 trips so far, and unfortunately on the first trip, it was a packraft trip and I had my paddles down the side here and I had to lower the pack down a bit of a cliff and I was scraping up against some sandstone and put a few little tears in the side, which is unfortunate, so I've had to patch them up. But apart from that, yeah, I've been really enjoying this pack. And then just to go inside my pack, just to keep all my gear dry, I've just got a plastic pack liner. Alright, so for my sleep system for this trip, I'm taking the Cedar Summit Etherlight XT insulated sleeping mat, and this is the large version, and this is such a comfortable mat. You get such a good night's sleep on this thing. And then on my summer trips, I'll take a Cedar Summit Etherlight XT non-insulated sleeping mat. This is also in the large version, and yeah, this thing's really comfortable once again, and it packs down really small and it's nice and light. Alright, so for this trip I'm taking a Cedar Summit Ember 3 quilt. So this is rated to, I think, -4 is its comfort level. Now I've taken this down to around about -8 or -9, and I've had a really nice sleep with this. It's a really good quilt and it's got quite a lot of down fill in it. So yeah, it's a good option for those winter trips. Alright, now another quilt that I get quite a lot of use out of, especially in the shoulder seasons, is this Alton quilt. It's rated to -5, but I tend to find the comfort level is around about 0. Alright, so another quilt that I've got that I tend to use in the warmer months, this one's by Neve Gear. Now Neve Gear is a little cottage company in Australia, so it's great to see a few more cottage brands popping up locally. But yeah, this one's a really nice custom made quilt, and yeah, I like to use this one sort of in summer and sort of moving into the shoulder seasons. Alright, now for the all important tent. So I went out and purchased a Durston X Mid 1. This is a polyester version. They do make a Dyneema version, but it's really hard to get your hands on the Dyneema version, whereas this one was in stock. And yeah, honestly, I absolutely love this thing. It was the first trip using it. Weighs about 850 grams, and the fact that you can set up the outer fly first and then get inside and set up the inner bug net, it just keeps all your gear nice and dry, and honestly, absolutely love it. Couldn't be more stoked with it. Right, now because it's a trekking pole tent and I don't carry trekking poles with me, I got this 6 Moon Design carbon fiber pole, which I just clipped together, and I put these little rubber feet on the end of them, so that way it doesn't dig into the ground. Now, I probably will eventually get the Durston adjustable pole, but they're sold out when I bought the tent, so I couldn't get them, but Durston do make an adjustable pole, which will be a lot easier than this sort of fixed length. Alright, so they include 4 pegs with the tent, and they're sort of this Y-shape peg, and then also 2 of these shepherd hook pegs. Now, I'm not a big fan of the pegs they've included, so the first time I was trying to peg into the ground, I actually bent one of them, which I wasn't even applying that much pressure to it. So what I've done is I've swapped them out for 4 of these Alton Goods pegs, and these are really good. So they're a kind of Y shape, and they just get such good sort of grip into the ground. They're really sturdy pegs and they're never going to bend. So yeah, I've got 4 of these, and then I'll probably take 2 along just to use for the vestibules and any guy line tie-outs. But yeah, these 4 will become the main pegs to secure the tent. Alright, so for this trip I also took an Alton ground sheet. That way I can sort of put it underneath the bathtub of the tent just to give it some protection, and also just if the ground's wet, it's nice just to sort of lay out on this, and it weighs, I think, like 100 grams or something. It weighs barely anything, but it's just nice to give you a bit of protection when you got the wet ground. Right, now as for the pillow, I'm just using a Cedar Summit Eros pillow, which packs down nice and small. Yeah, it's a really nice comfy pillow. It's got a nice material on it, so it's really soft, and yeah, you get a really nice sleep with this thing. Right, so I also took an Xped sit pad. Now, I don't usually take a sit pad when I go on trips, but I figured I'd take it on this one because it's going to be sort of cold and wet, so it's good to get you off the ground. And I'm actually really glad I did. I've actually got a lot of use out of this thing, and it weighs barely anything as well. Alright, so for my water, I've got a 1 litre Nalgene bottle, and then I took a 750 milliliter Pathfinder stainless steel nesting cup. Alright, so I decided to take my titanium plate from Alton. It's nice and lightweight, and this way if I caught any trout, I could cook them up using this. All right, so for my ditty bag, I've just got one of these Alton pouches. Inside here, I've just got a compass, because I was using a topographic map out there as well. I've got a microfiber towel just to clean things up with. I've just got some scourers as well. I've got a knife, fork and spoon from Cedar Summit. I've got a sort of pot grabber, which I can use to sort of hold my titanium pan. It's got a Bic lighter. I also took with me a ferro rod as well. Even though you can't have fires out there, I just took this just in case, for whatever reason, if I needed to, if I like an emergency or something, or my Bic lighter died, I could use this to start my stove as well. I've got a little roll of Gorilla sort of duct tape, which is always good to make repairs with. So this is a stove that I bought. This is by Optimus. I actually can't remember the specific model, but yeah, it's by Optimus. I've had this for, gosh, pretty much since I started hiking, like 6 years ago or something like that, and still doing me strong. I just pair that up with a little gas canister. I've got a little case pocket knife, which is a really nice little pocket knife. It's got a few different blades on it, but yeah, it's got a pretty decent little size blade, which is good to chop things up with. I've just got a little sort of sewing kit, so I've got some needle and threads in there in case I need to make any repairs. And this is my water and filtration kit. So I've got a Sawyer Squeeze, which I really like this filter. I've used a bunch of different filters like the Catadine B3 and different Sawyers, and they've all clogged up. This is the only one that's like still going strong. So I really recommend getting this filter. And obviously take this syringe as well so you can clean it out. And this is a game changer, which I got recently. This is a 2 litre knock bag. And this is so good for just collecting 2 litres of water if you want to take back to camp, just for when you want to use like later in the day or in the morning. But you also fill this up and then attach a filter to that to filter your water. So I absolutely love this bag. It's a great investment. All right, so for my tucker bag, this is what I use to keep all my food in. This is just a cotton sack from Aesop. So yeah, does the job, keeps everything nice and fresh. So I find if you keep things in plastic bags, especially like anything that's fresh, they just sweat and deteriorate quite quickly, where it's keeping it in a nice little cotton sack keeps it fresher for longer. All right, so inside this little dry bag, which is by Cedar Summit, this is where I keep my first aid kit. But you could also use this bag to sort of put your camera inside of it if you're sort of crossing like a creek or a river, or you could even just fill it up with air and close it up and use it as a pillow. All right, so inside here we've got a little bottle of tea tree oil, which is a natural antiseptic, and you can use that on burns, bites, cuts, stings, all those kinds of things. I've also got a little gauze bandage, got some toothpaste, toothbrush, a whistle, a roll of Elastoplast tape, which was actually very handy on this last trip. I've also got an assortment of sort of like bandages, gauze swabs and band-aids. I've got some dunny roll, and I've also got a little tin, which is an assortment of sort of medicines like ibuprofen, paracetamol and things like that. Something that's very important in a first aid kit in the Aussie bush is 2 compression bandages, because if you get bitten by a snake, you need 2 compression bandages to try and wrap up the limb. I've also got a little mirror here as well, which is good to signal if you need to, but also you can use it to sort of see hard to reach places, like to pull out a tick or something. And I've also got a little space blanket in there as well. So it's a pretty decent little first aid kit. I think it kind of covers most bases. Like there are some people that I see online who carry such a small amount of first aid gear, and look, I think that's a little bit ridiculous, especially if you're doing a lot of off-track hiking in remote wilderness areas when you're by yourself. You want to have like pretty much minimum this, I think. This kind of covers every base, and yeah, you just never know like when you're going to need it. Like luckily I've pretty much never had to use most of this, but the day that I do, I'm going to be so glad that I've got a decent little first aid kit. All right, so for one of the most important pieces of kit, and that's either a PLB or a satellite communicator. Now this is a Garmin GPS Map 66i, so it's got the SOS function on the side of it, but you can also text a loved one with this, and you can send them your coordinates so they know that you're okay. And also you've got your GPS on the screen as well. So say if you're using your phone for navigation but your phone dies, you've always got this as a backup, which is handy. All right, so this pouch is probably one of the heaviest things in my pack. It weighs about 1.5 kilos, but this holds all my electronics. So inside here, so I've got 2 10,000 milliamp power banks. I've got a Nightcore charger for my batteries, my camera batteries. I've got a GoPro Hero 11. I've I've got the media mod to go for the GoPro, just to cut out any wind noise. I've got a GoPro chest mount to film the fishing. I've got 3 batteries for my main camera, and plus the battery that's in my camera as well, so there's 4 batteries total. I've got 4 extra GoPro batteries. And for my head torch, I'm using a LED Lenser MH8. I absolutely love this head torch. I've had it for a couple of years now, and it's a really good torch. It's got a nice little zoom on it so it can direct the beam. Really bright and just lasts and lasts and lasts. I'm pretty sure it's waterproof as well. Now this is something new for this trip. So because you couldn't have fires where I went, I actually bought this little electric candle. So it's got a little battery in it and actually gives a nice little ambiance to the tent. So when the sun sets at 6 o'clock, you've got a few hours laying in the tent listening to a podcast. You just put this in there and sort of lights up the tent. It's actually quite nice. It only weighs about like 10 grams or 15 grams or something. I've also got a little cloth just to wipe the lens of the camera. I've got my Oakley sunnies, so if I want to go fishing. These are polarized. And here's just some cables. So I've just got my headphones in here and just a little USB cable as well. And that's all just in my little Alton pouch. Alright, and so for my main camera gear, I use a Canon EOS R with a 24-105 STM lens. And I use a Rode micro mic. And then I use a Slick tripod. I can't quite remember the model number of this, but it weighs around about 1 kilo. So it is a little bit heavy to carry around, but yeah, you kind of have to just put up with it when you sort of want to create content like this. Right, now because it rains a lot where I went, I decided to bring this Think Tank rain cover for my camera. So it's basically a little rain cover that goes over the camera and the lens sticks out the front there. And yeah, it just keeps your camera nice and dry. It does get a little bit of condensation inside there, but it does a pretty good job of keeping your camera dry, and I definitely need it on this trip. I had a few pretty wet days. Alright, so these are the boots I took on the trip, and these are called Scarpa Terras, and I've been using Scarpa Terras for the last 5 years or so. They're such a good quality leather boot. They're also waterproof as well, so they won't let any water in down there, unless water sort of gets in over the ankle. But this is all sort of nice and sealed down here. And yeah, this is the second pair I've owned. I absolutely love them. They're such a good quality boot. So obviously some people like to wear sneakers, which is fine. I've got a pair of sneakers, but to be honest, I actually probably prefer wearing boots. All right, so if you're hiking in Tasmania, you pretty much have to wear gaiters. The terrain there is quite scrubby, so it's always good to have some gaiters on just to protect your lower legs. But also there's a lot of snakes around as well, so this just gives you another layer of protection. And these ones are by Cedar Summit. Alright, so for my rain gear, I'm just using a MacPack Traverse rain jacket. It's made out of Pertex and yeah, it's really light and packs down really small. It's also got a hood inside the collar here. So yeah, I've been using it for about a year now and I really like it. It's a really nice jacket. Alright, so next up for rain protection, I took on this pair of MacPack rain pants. Now these are made from Pertex and it was my first time using these pants and I actually really liked them. There's a few days of rain and these managed to keep me nice and dry. Alright, so for my hiking shirt for this trip, I decided to use this sort of hiking / fishing shirt from Colombia. And it's a really nice shirt. It's nice and comfy and it just dries really quickly as well when you sort of get a bit sweaty. So I think I'll probably start using this shirt a little bit more in the future. Alright, so for this trip I decided to bring my Fjallraven Abisko zip-off pants. I've had these for about a year now and had some really good use out of them. They're such a good quality trouser, and as the name suggests, you can zip off the lower portion and just wear them as shorts if you want to. So yeah, really good pant. I did get a little hole in them on this trip, so I'm just going to have to patch that up, but apart from that, I absolutely love them. They're a really good, nice trouser. Alright, so for my jacket, I'm just using a Patagonia high loft down jacket, and this one comes with a hood. And it's got nice big sort of lofty baffles to keep you nice and toasty. Alright, so just inside here I've just got all my clothes. So I've just got a little bandana, which is always good to sort of wipe the sweat off your brow when you're hiking. I've also just got some little MacPack gloves. Got a little Cedar Summit microfiber towel, just to sort of wipe down the condensation on the tent in the morning before I pack it away. Just got a industry polyester beanie. I've just got 2 pairs of MacPack merino wool socks. And I've just got the Icebreaker merino wool long sleeve t-shirt, and this one's the 260 version. And it's really nice and warm, and it's good to chuck on at camp when you get there in the afternoon and when you go to sleep. We've also got some icebreaker merino wool leggings, and once again these are also the 260, and these are really warm, so I usually wear these when I go to bed. Alright, so this is a new addition to my kit. So this is my new hiking t-shirt from Oddie Merino. So yeah, as the name suggests, it's a merino wool t-shirt, and the nice thing about this t-shirt is it's a little bit longer than most hiking t-shirts. So if you're a tall bastard like I am, it's nice to have just a t-shirt with a little bit extra length, so it's not always sort of riding up your backside. And this is my first trip using this t-shirt, and yeah, I really like it. It's nice and comfy. Alright, so in terms of headwear, just got my good old Norfolk Wild baseball cap. Can't go past my good old trusty Cobra. So this is a cooler bar. It's actually a new hat that I got recently, about a month or two ago. So I'm just starting to wear it in. But yeah, it's a really nice wide brim hat. It's a little bit wider than my last one, and I really like the color of it. And yeah, it's just good for keeping the sun off your face, but also when it's raining. Like, it's so handy when it's raining just to keep the rain out of your eyes. And yeah, really liking this hat at the moment. Alright, so for those interested, this is what I take on my fly fishing trips. So I've got my landing net, I've got my little bum bag, which inside here I'll have sort of a box of flies, and as well as my reel. And then I'll have a bit of PVC pipe cut to length, and inside that I'll put my rod, which is a Loop Q Kit rod. And yeah, that fits in there nicely, so that way it doesn't get broken off on any branches when I'm hiking through the bush. Alright, so for the all-important base weight. So this kit sits around about 10 kilos. But keep in mind I was carrying a fair bit of extra camera gear so I could document the trip, as well as the fly fishing gear. And I did chuck in a few extra pieces of sort of warm clothing because I knew the weather was going to be a little bit dicey up there, so I just kind of wanted to cover all my bases. But yeah, even at 10 kilos, I was pretty happy with this. I ended up doing about 50 kilometers over the 5 days and had no dramas whatsoever. Even when it was a fully loaded pack with 5 days worth of food and water, I think it sat around about probably close to the 14 kilo mark, and that was still fine to carry around. But if I was to get rid of like the fly fishing gear and like the extra camera batteries and power banks and things, this kit would sit closer to probably about 8 kilos. And I think 8 kilos for a good quality winter kit is pretty good in my opinion. And then during summer I can get it even lighter if I was to swap out like the winter gear for more like a summer quilt and a summer sleeping mat, and maybe get rid of the down jacket for just a lighter weight jacket. I can get this down to around about 5 to 6 kilos, which is pretty good for me. I'm more than happy with that weight. I don't think I really need to go too much lighter than that, because you can definitely get carried away when you're trying to reduce your base weight, and you end up spending a lot of money, and so many people do, they just go overboard. So you just got to work within your budget, and at the end of the day, the main thing is just getting out there and enjoying the outdoors. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, like, gear is so personal, so what works for me might not work for you guys, but it is fun to see what other people carry around, and hopefully you guys you got a few little tips out of this video and maybe ways you can improve your kit. So yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, feel free to check out my videos and maybe give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hooroo. You're right. Someone must be up the front. Oh, mate. Banjo, come here, buddy.